insecure, and one growing up in a heterosexual society is going to be insecure. That we're going to have some kind of insecurities because the entire world seems opposed or seems opposite to our basic identity. So, someone feels that the world is against them to begin with. And then, this person may still be valuable and vulnerable and open to love, but suddenly they have someone to release some of those fears upon in a more negative rather than constructive way. A constructive way is, I'm worried that I'm not enough, that I'm not good enough, that, people are going to judge me, that people think that I'm this, or people judge me based upon my sexuality. A negative way is it's your fault. One of the things I point out to people when people talk about relationships is some men say that they're on a DL or they're not out and they're looking for a relationship. And I always challenge in my workshops, what's going to happen then? So we're walking down the street together, and we've just come out of the building, my apartment, your apartment, and we've had a wonderful weekend. And then we come out of the building, and you see somebody that you're not out to. Do you cross the street? Do you shove me away? Part of that comes from the isolation of, again, same-sex relationships. So you want to communicate to somebody where they might be blaming you for some of the problems. Oh, you're too effeminate. That's a big place where that comes from. Part of effeminacy means that you will out me in public. Yeah, that's a lot where that comes from. And part of what more flamboyant or effeminate, or if we're looking at lesbians, masculine people do is they make it safe for those of us who are kind of in the middle ground. Because when it's safe for flamboyant people to be flamboyant, it's safe for me to be middle ground. And again, this kind of goes into a bit of the twisting of the concept of he is not you. When I accept that you are not me, I can accept that what you do and who you are is not a reflection upon me, so I don't need to blame you for how I feel about what you do. And that's a big thing to get into, and we can do that in communication, we can do that a little bit in the Imago stuff, where we talk about how to diffuse some of that, because that really is a big one. Blaming. And a lot of that blame comes from the fact that society has kind of pressure cooked gay men and women for a while they were growing up. And so they're just learning some of the skills, how to deal with things, how to look at things, and how to not only deal with a relationship, which is a skill and work unto itself, but dealing with a relationship that the world doesn't agree to. So it's easier for abusive things to happen in a relationship, or faster, because you necessarily don't have someone, or a family, or members, or mother and father encouraging you, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. Blames feelings. Abusive people will tell you, you made me mad and I can't help being angry, or they actually make the decision about how they think or feel. They will use feelings to manipulate you. Abusers see themselves as the victim in the relationship and do not take responsibility for their own feelings or behaviors. This is a general adult thing. If you run into somebody who can explain how you're destroying them, what you're doing is crushing them, and you're actually not doing anything, or you say, oh, I didn't realize that happened, I'm not going to do that any longer, that wasn't my intention, this is the other person. I tell people in workshops, sometimes, and what I've done is I've done objects in the center of the room, and sometimes I got like a little plastic gold ring, and I throw it in the middle of the room, and I encourage the greatest victim to dive for the ring first. And sometimes when people start talking, first they're a little laughy or jokey about it, when we start talking about some of these subjects, you can then see when people start hearing, because they get other reflections in a group thing, something that is my victim self-pity BS running, and I should die for the ring. And we hand the person the ring. You get to be the star victim right now. And eventually people start learning to take responsibility for their emotions and stop palming it off on others. When I can say it's your fault, I don't have to take responsibility for the fact that maybe I gave you too much power, maybe I'm giving you too much power now, maybe I'm not accomplishing the things that I want to and how that makes me feel, and maybe I need to dialogue in different ways. One of the things that I encourage people to do, especially when I'm coaching them or I'm doing different kinds of workshops, is just because you're alive and you have all of your arms and you have your legs and you have your fingers and all of your appendages and you can still see and you've kept your body alive for 20, 30, 40 years, and just because you can think, and just because there's a variety of things that you're good at and that you're intelligent about and that you're smart about, doesn't mean there aren't some other things you don't know. Amazingly enough, all of the knowledge wasn't immediately given to you how to do something right. Once we accept, you know something, there might be different ways of doing stuff that I might not know. Once we're flexible in that, we actually are greater and we're more available to relationships. This is a great thing when we talk about relationships. Why certain people aren't in relationships? Because they're inflexible. If I'm always blaming you, I'm inflexible to looking at my behavior. If I'm always blaming others for why things don't go well because I'm a black man in America, then I'm inflexible to the ways that I can move forward in my own success or change my thinking. Or yes, there are going to be challenges and bumps in the road. Is it smarter to stop at the first bump and never move forward, or to learn how to get over the bumps, or to abuse somebody else based upon those bumps in the road?